wondering what those sound effects are, it's Julia clapping to the music as we go live here. She's in a great mood today. I don't know why.
Oh, because I get to be on air.
Oh, you love being on air. You live for this show. So do I. We love to do this show for all of you. Welcome to Studio B here at Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco. Thierry de Jong is on in SoCal. Peter Stevenson's going to horse racing at Randwick. He said that race is even shorter than the SAIL GP race. Mm-hmm. Ola from the FIDI in New York City says, Larry Kennedy, Clark Chapin up in rain-parched. Yeah, it's been very dry. I was hearing that from my sister, Clark, that you need some rain. Well, it goes back and forth. Blake Sail on up in Minneapolis, the land of 11,842 lakes. Hamish Ross, what? Real yachts? Yes, that's real yachts, of course, in our intro. Those are the beloved 12 meters from eons ago. Greg Phillips in the Gold Coast. Oh, Oz. Phil Yeomans in Sydney. A lot of Aussies on, even though it's early there. It's 06:01 on their East Coast. Lance Burke. Arsenal are up 2-0 in the Premier League openers. Everything else can hang fire. Lance Burke's given us a contribution today, Julia, for which I am greatly appreciative.
That's lovely.
Co-host Julia Vedekint is in great spirits here. She's representing the St. Francis Yacht Club, and I'm your host, Tommy Eamon, representing the Balboa Yacht Club, although we're both a member of a few other clubs, proudly so. Julia,
sir,
we're to the starting line, and as you were saying, I can't believe that we're to show 947, nearly 950. What do you think of that?
Oh, I can't believe it.
I can't either.
I can't even count them.
Well, we've been doing it for 10 years, and this is our 10th year of yacht racing news, views, and notables, and we're delighted to have you all with us. And we'll kick it off with a bit of a Bravo Zulu in praise of performance. And we've been covering this, Julia, for some time. This is the round Great Britain and Ireland race, and 29 teams from 11 nations. It's been quite an event. We've been talking about who we thought was going to be the winner. At least they did finish first. So they were the first across the finish line, but they have also now they've sailed such a brilliant race. They have also now won on corrected time. They're the overall winner under IRC, and that, of course, is the yacht pace. Well, bravo to them, and the Royal Ocean Racing Club, the organizing authority, is delighted to confirm that Johnny Vincent's Volvo 70 pace has been declared the overall winner under IRC. And you know who the chairman of the IRC is?
Yes.
Our super Fozy Dr. Andrew McIrvin.
Absolutely.
The rule works beautifully thanks to him and a few others.
Oh, good.
I don't know why the whole world doesn't use IRC, Julia, but now I'm editorializing and we're not even 3 minutes into the show.
Oh, well, that gives you a chance to do it again.
Well, I'll editorialize before this show is over, don't worry. But they're the winner of the 2026 Rourke's Round Britain and Ireland race with no remaining competitor able to better Pace's IRC corrected time. The result gives Vincent and his crew the race's top prize, adding overall victory to monohull line honors. Pace crossed the RYS, the Royal Yacht Squadron's finish line in Cowes at 04:17 last Sunday. Her elapsed time for the 1,800 and change nautical mile course was 6 days, 14 hours, 47 minutes and change. Quote, "It was very emotional and honestly mind-blowing," commented Johnny Vincent. Quote, "Before the start, monohull line honors was a realistic target." Well, in a VO7, you would hope so. "And winning IRC 0 would have meant that we had competed well against the boats in our own rating band. To win the IRC overall in a race this long is something else. It is 3 times the length of Bermuda, of the Fastnet, of Sydney Hobart.
Yeah. Conditions
can change," he says, "so much over 1,800 miles that part of it is in the hands of gods, the gods.
The wind gods.
The wind gods, as Larry Ellison called them in that famous video. We feel unbelievably overjoyed and fortunate." So bravo Zulu to them, bravo Zulu to the Rourke, and everybody else involved as we check back in with people checking in Lance Burke likes Muckle Flugga. That's one of the reasons we cover this race. We like to say Muckle Flugga, which is up there at the top of, I guess, Scotland, isn't it? That's the very top north end of the course. Sounds like me ordering the last whiskey of the night. So says Lance Burke, our friend from St. Francis Yacht Club. My apologies. The Royal Randwick is the race course, is the pony track that he's at. That is Peter Stevenson, a.k.a. Pedro Foiling Sailor, and Peter Reckenberg. A lot of Aussies here. Peter Reckenberg checking in from Geelong. Nice to see you on again, Peter. Speaking of Australians and Australian events, this week has been the Hamilton Island Race Week. I believe it's the 41st. It is 41st edition. They have nearly 200 entries. This is up, up northeast on the northeast corner of Australia. It's a fabulous event. I've never raced in it, but I've been there with the Cup and giving talks with Ian Murray and Ian Burns and a couple others. And I can't remember an event that is so relaxed, so much fun, such beautiful weather. It just is fabulous. And Mary Longpree down in Balboa Yacht Club has always gone there and photographed it or sailed. And she's smart. And she and her husband get out of Dodge here this time of year and get down to Australia and have a ball. So there's Andrew Pindar saying Scarborough calling. He, of course, is calling him now the King of Scarborough, among other things. So this is Hamilton Island Race Week, and I just want to make mention at the top here some bad news before we get into all the good news. If it bleeds, it leads, and thank God there is apparently no bleeding in this incident, but this is the yacht Viva La Vida. It's an Oyster 82 and apparently owned by New York Yacht Club and Riverside Yacht Club members, hence the Burgess on the back of the boat that you see right there.
In chronological order.
Yeah, well, in age. The club on the left is the older of the two clubs. Riverside Yacht Club is in Greenwich, Connecticut, just up the shore a little bit in the Connecticut from New York City. And a lot of members of clubs on Long Island Sound as well as New York Yacht Club. Here's what happened to that boat, I think today, Friday.
How did they find out?
I'm not sure what happened, if they hit a whale or hit a rock, but something happened apparently to the boat. And here is a video that I've managed to dig up on Facebook.
Well, it's never a dull day. Here's Viva La Viva. Unfortunately, they've hit a rock. They've lost all electrics, all hydraulics, all steering. So they are stuck with their sail up. Someone's come alongside with a petrol-powered pump or diesel-powered pump, so they're probably going to stay afloat. There's the barge over there that has lent the pump, and a powerboat that is assisting them. We're just running alongside in case we can do anything, but I'm not sure how much we can do at this stage.
This is La Vida that is sinking after hitting a rock during the Hamilton Island yacht race. So we were really close to it, so we actually came back when they called the Mayday. It's incredible how quickly it's sinking. They couldn't get the pump that they were handed over to work. And now it's just tipped over and they've abandoned ship.
That's not going to buff out.
Well, as I said, there's been no official word, except the reporting is from a number of sources, including our Super Fozy. I got that picture, I think, or not the Facebook video, but a picture that we previously showed from Super Fozy, Dolly DeVola, among others, in Australia overnight. Woke up to that. And luckily, apparently, no one was hurt. No one's been injured, although they've issued a strange statement. Did you see that statement?
Yeah.
We're not going to talk anymore about this until we've fully investigated an authority, like somebody gotten hurt or killed even. But apparently, hopefully, that is not the case. Everybody's safe and sound, but the yacht has apparently lost a good chunk of its keel. And whether it's from hitting a rock or hitting a whale, or if the thing just failed and fell off, I really
Enemy
Joe.
submarine.
No, well, yeah, it could have been a submarine. So J. Frederick Bland, still not dead, hard to kill, built from pain. That's J. Frederick himself, James Bland, who has gone through a tough bout with cancer, and he seems
has.
to have it in remission and doing beautifully.
That's such
Keep
great
it up.
news. Yeah.
Steve Gruber, I guess the in-boom furling main can't be dropped without power.
Ah.
Bad plan. Yeah, that's why they couldn't get that mainsail down in that first picture. Apparently, whenever this happened, whatever happened, they lost power. Christiane Price, who's normally in Sydney, and her daughter, Olivia Ladivia, who is the silver medalist from 2012 and a super Fosie as well, or a Fosie anyway. She is at Hamilton Island Race Week, as the Aussies call it, Hamo. And she is reporting via Christiane is reporting from her daughter Olivia that they ran aground.
She on that boat?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
And as Blake says, ouch, that definitely is not going to buff out, as the gentleman Mike Rose, that was from Mike Rose's Facebook page, whom I assume is an Aussie, but I don't know for sure. But on to better news. This event, as any number of us have said, and I can tell you personally, is just a fabulous event. It's been going on for 40 or 41 years, I guess, the 41st edition. I don't know if they skipped COVID or not. Had pretty serious lockdowns in Australia, as you all know. But just some beautiful shots by Balcaddy Media. And I couldn't help but put them in because I knew it would make Mary Longpree, make her wistful. And so too for me, because anyone who's ever been to this beautiful part of the world and to this fabulous event will be missing it, as am I. Now, one of the cool things they do on day 4 is they have a thing called the Prix d'Elegance, and the boats compete. And apparently they've had a great turnout this year of boats getting decorated and going out with a theme, and there's a rating for the best theme and the best boat. We don't know yet who it is. They give the prizes out at the prize giving Saturday night, and these are coveted prizes, just like the race wins.
Yes.
So I've got a few pictures for you.
Oh, yes.
These guys, it's hilarious. It's such a great thing to do. I don't know why more events don't do it. Maybe it's because the Aussies are so much fun and so relaxed. But look at the effort that's gone into this.
Yes.
And then they go yacht racing after. This is not a day off, I believe. I think they're going yacht racing. This may be my favorite. There's a boat named Clockwork, and they're all dressed up as oranges. Remember the movie? A Clockwork Orange?
Yeah.
And finally, a Top Gun theme. Tower requesting a flyby. Where's Jody in the Prix d'Elegance? It seems well suited to him. Yes, Peter Taylor in New York City. Captain de Sublant, we've been pumping that submarine, the command in the Atlantic Sublant. We've been pumping for 3 days in the level of the Mediterranean. Tower requesting a flyby. So that's Balcaddy Media. And we appreciate very much his video. He shot some videos too, but his photos from what is a very cool event, Hamilton Island Race Week.
I've been to Hamo, but not during the race week.
Well, you should get your jet organized and get down there and do it.
They can't handle the jet.
They can. I flew into Hamilton. They've got a little private airport there, and I flew in with the Cup on a puddle jumper, because you get to Sydney on a big plane, and then it's a pretty small plane up to Hamilton Island.
Right.
And with the Cup, you never let the Cup out of your sight. You don't put it in the hold of the airplane. No. You just don't do that. So to make it work, because the Louis Vuitton case was too big to fit in any seat, it was too big to fit in the front row between the front seat and the bulkhead, in a bulkhead. So, well, no, but they were very kind. I mean, the airline, I can't remember who it was, but the Cup had to be taken out of the box, out of the Louis Vuitton case, put in a seat, and the crew then wrapped blankets around it and strapped it in. And of course, you're the last one on, and the first one, or you're the first one on and the last one off, so you don't disrupt
I was going to say that's better.
all the passengers.
Yeah.
But of course, that means you're sitting there with the trophy as everybody's walking off the plane, and they all want to have their pictures taken with it.
Sure.
They had no idea it's in the front seat. It's a lot of fun. I recommend it. I recommend it to anybody.
Yes.
Sleeping with a cup's fun too, because you got to sleep with it in your bedroom, in your hotel room.
Yeah.
Blake is booking a reservation to Hamo on Julia's jet.
I'm ready.
Okay, well, let's get on here. What are we celebrating today, Julia? There's a clue. Since it's the 22nd down under, I thought it was okay to celebrate.
Oh, the America's Cup.
Yes, the America's Cup, and it's the birthday, the 175th birthday of the oldest international trophy, the oldest sport trophy in international sport. And of course, it's named, eventually, it took them a while, but it's named after the yacht America. And the trophy has been contested now in what I call AC0 in 1851 through 2026, 175 years. The next event, of course, is thought to be next year in Naples. So we've combined what are we celebrating with this day in history and even correct or croutonic. Julie, I've never covered all three of those segments, all three of those in one segment. So let's get on with what happened on this day in history, 1851. And of course, a little history lesson. Most of you will know this or know bits and pieces anyway. Her Majesty Queen Victoria, who was born in 1819 and lived a long life to 1901 and had, 7 or 8 or 9 kids? She had a bunch of kids. She reigned from 1837 to 1901. And Great Britain did a lot of great things in that era, the Industrial Revolution and so on. Her husband apparently was a very bright, cool guy. He was German. And he, HRH Prince Albert, who lived from 1819 to 1865, he had the grand idea to have the great international, or the grand international, some people call it the exposition, others the exhibition of 1851 at the Crystal Palace in Hyde Park in London. This was the first World's Fair, and they've been going on, every 3, 4, 5 years ever since. Here's a quick video.
In 1851, a palace of iron and glass rose over Hyde Park in London, stretching exactly 1,851 feet long. The Crystal Palace became the home of the world's very first international exposition. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert took the stage, officially inaugurating the Great Exhibition. 14,000 exhibitors filled the vast apartments with over 100,000 treasures. Given to the Queen by the last ruler of the Sikh Empire in India, the Koh-i-Noor diamond was the star of the exhibition. In the American department, McCormick's Reaper revolutionized global farming speed, while Colt's mass-produced revolvers showcased the precision of interchangeable parts. In the British department, Willett Sawyer's Velocipede proved that people could travel without horses. Frederick Bakewell showcased his image telegraph, a stunning early version of the facsimile machine. Even first flushing public toilets amazed visitors, bringing London into the modern age.
We always have, if that hadn't been in the video, I was going to have to run something, because we always talk about that when we talk about 1851 and the cup and so on, the Great Exposition or the Grand Exhibition, whatever you want to call it. Fantastic stuff. And of course, in conjunction with that, the Royal Yacht Squadron decided to have a race, and you can argue about whether they wanted to have bets and there was wagering, or whether the Americans decided to go over after this race was invented, that is the Royal Yacht Squadron's 100-pound cup, or whether the squadron had written the New York Yacht Club earlier in the year, in fact, the previous year, arguing or inviting them to come to this event. But this event was a new addition, was an addition to the Royal Yacht Squadron's regular regatta at Cowes, just like we celebrated the 200th edition of that last week. And you see down there at the bottom, the RY next to the bottom, penultimate, as the Brits would say, the RYS 100-pound cup, open to yachts belonging to the clubs of all nations, entry to close at midnight, August 16th. No time allowance. This is going to be straight speed. 3 vessels must enter and start for each prize or no race. And then, of course, that night there would be fireworks. And maybe you saw the previous slide that the night before was the annual ball. So I think there are probably some dusty people, Julia,
Yes.
in that race on the 22nd of August, 175 years ago today. If you're down under, it's our tomorrow, of course. The cup you see there in that poster, in those days, trophies, and to some extent still are, named by the value, by the cost of the trophy. And Gerards of London in 1848 actually cast that trophy, that cup, that Victorian ewer, E-W-E-R, and several others very similar. And they're here and there. Bill Koch, Ted Turner was said to have one, and various others. I think maybe Ernesto Bertorelli. So there's various others that are extant. And of course, this race took place at 10 o'clock in the morning on the 22nd. And America had come into Cowes, and they clearly knew from the moment she sailed into Cowes, they stopped in France and loaded up with some
Booze.
brandy and fine cheese and whatever else, and provisioned up. And they sailed over to the Isle of Wight. And as they came in, they were met by some of the British fleet. And she, especially in the lightest air, she just sailed right by them. She was pretty amazing as a yacht. Hamish Ross is on here. He can tell you this is this more about this story than I, he having studied it. Actually, he says it was originally a French idea to have a World Fair, but squashed by trade protection. I think the next one was it. Go ahead, Julie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think the next one actually was in Paris after this 1851 extravaganza. So this race, the first and perhaps only real test for America, was the RYS, because she'd been so fast going forward since she was designed and built, the Royal Yacht Squadron's 100-pound cup. And Bob Fisher, the late great Bob Fisher, and I have reminded people for many years, it's the 100-pound cup, not the
100 guinea.
Not the 100 guinea cup. It was initiated by the Earl of Wilton, senior Sirius squadron member, to be sailed on a clockwise course around the Isle of Wight on the 22nd August, 1851. A total of 18 yachts entered, but only 15 made it to the starting line, varying from the huge 392-ton three-masted schooner Brilliant to the 48-ton cutter Volante. Big fleet, and they sailed, excuse me, again, clockwise around the, does that look clockwise on the screen? No, it looks counterclockwise. But you get what I'm saying. And of course, America won by quite a bit, by, I don't know, 18 minutes or so over the second place boat, which was said to be Aurora. And this is probably apocryphal, but the myth, it's more than a myth. I mean, this has been fabulous.
Yeah.
Because the America's Cup has been defined by these quotes. Say, Signal Master, are the yachts in sight? Supposedly Queen Victoria asked. Yes, may it please your majesty. Which is first? He's looking through his spyglass. The America. Which is second? She asked. Ah, your majesty, there is no second.
Yeah, that's neat.
So again, whether that happened or not, but it has defined the America's Cup ever since, well, at least after 1871, because this was a fleet race, and there was no second because there was such a distance between the first place boat and the second place boat that it was hard to tell if at all who was second. But more importantly, didn't matter. The signalman understood, and probably everybody else. This was such a huge upset for this kind of backwoods country coming over with their technology, these New York harbor pilot schooners, and were quite different, radically different designs than all the British boats. The American boats were narrow forward and wide aft, and the British boats were wide forward and tapered like a fish to the back. The American sails were quite a bit different, flatter cut, tighter weave, and the masts on America were raked. I'll go back. Were raked quite a bit aft compared. Where's that good picture? Compared to the British boats. And we now know why that works well. It reduces the tip vortex Hamish Ross said that Victoria made no mention of the no second comment in her diary. Yeah, we probably think it's,
Well, it is
a bit
for
of
all
a
in,
myth.
but for all in fact, it's true.
Well, it's good fun anyway.
Yeah.
So she did. We know historically from her, she was a great diarist, as Hamish is pointing out. She did go down a day or two later and congratulated New York Yacht Club Commodore John Cox Stevens on their win. Apparently, one of her advisors, one gentleman in her party, was convinced that there was a propeller, and he leaned over the side of the boat at some point during this and was trying to find the propeller, and he started to fall overboard. And as he was falling overboard, somebody grabbed him by the leg. Well, it turned out it was a peg leg. It was it came off and caused a huge, that I'm pretty sure is a true story.
Really?
Yes. I wouldn't make something up.
Yes, you would.
As Dr. McIrvin says, never spoil a good story with the truth.
Yes.
Clark Chapin says it's one of those stories that need to be true, even if it isn't.
That's correct.
So back on the picture now of America, this is a painting by Charles S. Raleigh from 1887 of the yacht America in her original form, with, you can see clearly the raked masts. And that painting is in the Smithsonian here in Washington, D.C. Now, Alex Hayworth in UK says, when you get involved in the cup, you always lose an arm and a leg.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Alex.
So then, of course, as you all know, they didn't know what to do with the cup. New York Yacht Club and the America Syndicate, as they were called, didn't know what to do with the cup. Should we melt it down? They seriously considered this. Hamish has confirmed this in Hamish Ross in his studies. Should we melt the cup down and make medals for the crew and whomever else? And they were apparently about to do that. No one had a better idea when someone of the syndicate came up with, presumably the syndicate came up with the radical idea to deed it to the New York Yacht Club as a trophy for perpetual trophy for friendly competition between foreign countries. And they drafted a deed, and the deed exists in the library, and they have an inner sanctum of very, very special not secret, because they do let historians like Bob Fisher and Hamish and others in. So there is this handwritten deed that was, you can see up there on the top, it's originally dated 1852. But they had this thing in progress for so long, and back and forth. New York wasn't sure if they wanted to accept the deed. This could be a big burden. They're headed to the Civil War. It's going to be expensive, yada, yada, yada. So this deed got modified finally in 1857, 5 years later, written in 52, modified in 57 by when a lot of the original syndicate members were gone. In fact, I think most of them. So that's the original deed of gift. And it was drafted in 52 and given to New York Yacht Club, and they accepted it in 1857. The deed is the primary document, as again all of you will know, that governs the rules to make a valid challenge for the America's Cup and the rules of conduct of the races. The current version of the deed is the third revision of the original deed. The original deed, as we just said, was written in 1852 and forwarded to New York Yacht Club, and they accepted it on July 8th, 1857. Now, New York went forward and had a defense. The first defense was in 1870. This is is this Currier and Ives? I can't remember. Yeah, this is, I believe, a print of a Currier and Ives engraving from the 8th of August, 1870, what I call AC1, the Great International Yacht Race for the Queen's Cup. Notice they're calling it the Queen's Cup because the Americans thought it would garner more interest.
Yes.
Not the 100-pound cup, not the misnamed 100 guinea cup, but now it was the more august Queen's Cup in 1870. Now, you see how many boats are on the starting line there for 1870? Well, the Americans figured, since they had to race against the entire fleet, the British fleet, the Brits, the challengers should come, the Brit should come over and race against the entire squadron of New York Yacht Club, which they did. And of course, New York won. America was second, and I don't know where the British boat finished. Hamish would probably, or somebody else probably know that, maybe Andrew McIrvin. But they raced the entire fleet. That was not acceptable. Everybody realized that was probably not very fair. So that print from Courier and Ives was the last one of a fleet race. The next year, 1871, the Brits challenged again, but on the condition that New York would only put one boat out against the one British boat. Well, they forgot to say, or apparently couldn't agree, but they forgot to say that it would be the same boat every race. First to win two, it'd be the same boat. But they didn't. The Americans put one boat out, you know, horses for courses. It was, I can't remember, a light air day or a heavy air day, and they put out their fastest boat.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
For the condition. And then the next day, the conditions changed, and they swapped to another yacht. Well, that was not amusing for people either. And then finally, no one would challenge until they got the deed sorted out, and it became what we now know it, except it seems like the current crowd is trying to amend it to make it a fleet race, or partially a fleet race, which will never happen, by the way. So long story short, it became a match race, one boat against one boat, and has been ever since, at least up until the last Cup. And here, speaking of the long history of the Cup, is the best video I've seen. It's from 5 years ago, but it still is a great video of the history of the oldest trophy in international sports.
170 years. That's a long time. 170 years ago today, the first car was still 35 years off. The Wright brothers' first flight, 52. That's 10 years before the start of the American Civil War. 45 before the birth of the modern Olympic Games. It's the year the refrigerator was invented. Times change, so they say. Well,
The America's Cup. The symphony of sea and sky and sail.
some things, they stay the same. 170 years ago, the oldest trophy in world sport was won for the very first time. A sailing race around the Isle of Wight in England. A radical-looking yacht called America beat the British on home waters and took the trophy back to the United States. The legend of the America's Cup had begun, and the winning of it has dominated the sport ever since. For well over a century, the New York Yacht Club welcomed challenger after challenger, but none could take the cup from the Americans. Until another radical yacht sailed into the history books again.
They have won the America's Cup. They have done it.
Just like the obsession to win, innovation in the America's Cup never stops. In 2021, the 36th America's Cup will be raced in a new class. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, they say. Sorry about that. We've reinvented the sailors too, a new breed of athlete, part machine, part scientist, engineered to perform at the edge. And the defenders this time? Watch out.
The America's Cup wrestles from the USA. The trophy belongs to New Zealand.
New Zealand have been on 6 America's Cup start lines in the last 7 editions. If there's a super team in this sport, these guys are it.
The America's Cup is now New Zealand's cup.
But keeping the cup won't be a walk in the park. Remember that 170-year-old drive to win? So, yeah, the America's Cup. Not your average sporting contest. For the 36th time, this is history in the making.
Good video. I think it's one of the best. It is the best. There's a few that are longer, but for a 2.5 minute or whatever it is video, and it was produced obviously by the Kiwis leading up to the last Cup from 5 years ago, but it's still pretty darn good, isn't it?
It
so, yeah, and bravo Zulu to New Zealand, because after New York Yacht Club's 132-year hegemony, winning streak, the Kiwis have dominated the Cup, having been in the Cup now every time except the deed of gift match in 1980. Well, Kiwis were in that match too, but the only one they weren't in was the 2010 deed of gift match, because that was just between us and Ernesto Bertorelli's team from SNG, Société Nautique Genève. Now let's look at the yacht clubs that have been involved, because sadly the yacht clubs by the current crop, the current regime, seems to want to eliminate yacht clubs from the event. And of course, the yacht clubs are central. They're foundational. That's what the deed of gift says. That's how this thing has progressed so well over the years. And it's also because the yacht clubs have not allowed the deed to be amended. The deed is the deed. It's like if we die and we give a will, you can't amend the will. That's the last will and testament.
You really meant to put me in it.
Well, exactly. You can fight about it in court. Yeah. And the only thing is that if it's decided that some provision of the will, or in this case, the deed or the trust, is impracticable, to use a good legal word, I learned that from Hamish Ross.
Yes.
If it's, not really, but if it's impracticable, then you apply to the court and maybe get them to make a change, like was done in 56. When the Southern Hemisphere Amendment was made. That's because Royal Perth Yacht Club had won it, and the deed said you can only run the Cup between April and November. They never imagining that some club from the Southern Hemisphere would win it.
Right.
So they went to court in, I think it was 56, and got this amendment so that if it is in the Southern Hemisphere, it can be run between November and April.
Yeah.
Okay, impracticable, made perfect sense. Everybody agreed with it.
All right.
New York Yacht Club deserves all the credit. People think they jimmied the rules, or that they waived the rules. Britain ruled the waves and the Americans waived the rules. Simply not true. They certainly did a good job. They certainly negotiated hard to be sure that the rules that they agreed to with the challenger were at least fair to them. It's a hard, this is King of the Mountain. This is a hard event, as you heard in that video, to win. So there's the 44th Street Clubhouse for New York Yacht Club, built in 1901 in Midtown Manhattan. Fabulous building. And of course, if you've been in the model room there particularly, or the library, but the model room, to see the history of our beloved sport, including and especially the America's Cup. The New York Yacht Club held it for 132 years, from 1851 till we lost it in 1983. That was America's Cups 1 through 25. I call those because the first one in 1851 was America's Cup 0 in my book, and most people now use that parlance as well. In 83, the famous cross of Australia 2 crossing ahead of Liberty on leg 1, 2, 3, 4. The downwind leg, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on leg 5 of the 6-leg course. And it was a light air. I was just about 300 meters off to the right side as we look at that photo on the bow of the jury boat. It's fabulous, amazing, and horrifying development, because this was the 7th and final race. Whoever won was going to win. Australia 2 crossed ahead of Liberty in race 7, and all she had to do was cover, and I don't know how many tacks, 30, 40 tacks upwind on the last leg. And this was the result, was that Australia 2 performed brilliantly. Dennis did everything. Dennis and his team on Liberty, the red boat, Liberdog as some called it, did everything they could to try to shake Australia 2 off the wind. They couldn't, and Australia won. Australia 2, the Royal Perth Yacht Club, won AC 25. Staying on the clubs for a minute, the Cup was taken to Perth in WA, Royal Perth Yacht Club of Australia, raced off Fremantle, which is, it's not really a suburb, but it's a little, town village outside of Perth, and was a great host, not only to the Royal Perth Yacht Club, but Frio, when we all lived in Frio. And it was arguably the best America's Cup, not even arguably, in the modern history, because there were 13 challengers and 4 defenders in the 12-meter yachts that everybody had become accustomed to and grown to know and love. So they only held it for one event, for AC 26, and then lost it to Dennis, who went back, Dennis Conner, Malin Burnham, and the beautiful San Diego Yacht Club. And they won it in 87 and hosted it in 88, 92, and 95. And it had a little bit to do with those defenses. And that's AC 27 through 29. And then Russell Coutts and his team won in 1995. First win for Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron. They won 5-0. I mean, they were just way better than the other teams. And by the way, the Cup is normally won 2-0 when it was best to win 3, 3-0 when it was best to win 5, 4-0 when it was best to win 7. That's been the normal thing because one boat is just significantly better than the other. And I suspect we're going to see the same thing. If this event in Naples really happens, I suspect you'll see the Kiwis will win whatever it is. Is it first to win 7?
Yeah.
Something like that. But the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron and their team, Russell Coutts and co., just sailed a fabulous series. I was with Dennis's team, and we lost badly, 5-0. And the Cup went down under. A couple of, again, terrific events, a big turnout, big attendance. We're now in the IACC class, which had been designed by committee. A whole bunch of us from the Defenders and Challengers got together. John Longley and I led that effort, putting the, we wrote the thing down and got everybody together because I was the Defender and John was the Challenger of Record, representing the Challenger of Record. So we got that rule written, and 100 of those boats were built through 2007. 2000, 100.
They were good boats.
And they were good boats and provided great racing, including and especially in New Zealand for AC 30 and 31. And then, of course, in AC 31, Russell Coutts had the, what's the word I want? He had defected to Alinghi, to the Société Nautique Genève, and took his so-called Type 5, the afterguard and a couple of his trimmers, and they went to SNG on the shores of Lake Leman, Lake Geneva in Switzerland, and they held the Cup from 07 to 2010. They defended in Valencia because, again, it was impractical. Well, they can name any venue, and you couldn't sail this in the light air of Geneva and the keels, the depth of the lake along shore and so on. So they wisely put it out to bid. Fully 60 cities in Europe bid for the right to host the Cup in 07. And it came down between Valencia and Portugal. Valencia won. In fact, Hamish and I were sitting together when that was announced at a hotel in, I guess, Geneva. Is that where we were, Hamish? And that was AC 32 and 33. 33 was the deed of gift match, and that was won by Golden Gate Yacht Club. Larry Ellison, Russell Coutts, by then is working for us, and the Golden Gate Yacht Club there with the Fog, as we call it here, Carl the Fog. I'm not sure where Carl came from. Do you know where Carl came from?
No.
Some radio station named it that, right? Lance Burke would know. So Golden Gate held the trophy for the 2013, actually won it in 2010 rather, and then held it through a 2013 match and a 2017 match. Those were ACs 34 and 35. That was in San Francisco, the first one in 2013. Then in Bermuda in 2017. And as you know, Julia, I declined to be involved when Larry and Russell and Norbert Byron, who was the Commodore of Golden Gate, acquiesced to run it in Bermuda. And I was the vice Commodore at the club at the time and said, no.
Not supposed to be
you got to run it in the country, or you should run it in the country. I know the deed doesn't say that. Some people interpret the deed to say that, but I don't think the deed says that. I think you can go outside the country to run it at a venue of the defender's choice. And sadly, when there's so many good venues here, proven venues in the U.S., whether it's San Francisco Bay, San Diego, Newport, Rhode Island, and literally a dozen other places that you could run the America's Cup, to go to Bermuda, I thought was wrong. But that's just me, one person. And on offer, as usual, follow the money, right? Mm-hmm. Because Bermuda offered, you remember, $70 million. Oh,
yeah.
And a Bermuda dollar is the same as the American. It's pegged to the American dollar. So it was real money to host the event, and we had struggled to raise money here in San Francisco for the 2013
That's true.
event. And Russell and Larry said, to hell with this. If Bermuda's on offer for that kind of money, we'll go there. And of course, Bermuda didn't take it up after that because they realized that probably didn't make economic sense to do it. So who won in Bermuda in what are we up to, 2017, was again the first club that's won it, lost it, and won it back, the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron. Terrific club, terrific talent in that country.
Mm-hmm.
And they had events in 2021, and they still have it. And 2021, then the event in Barcelona in 2024. It was Auckland 2020, a fabulous event. 2021, despite COVID and everything else, they pulled it off.
Mm-hmm.
Then this event in Barcelona and these new boats was frankly disappointing. And Naples, if it happens, Julia, I think will be even more disappointing. A, because the Kiwis are light years ahead of everybody else. And B, there's problems with the boats. And C, there's some other crotonicism afoot, which we will soon discuss. I'll take that opportunity here as we're discussing the history. So AC 36 and 37, and probably, maybe, AC 38 if this thing in Naples happens. Go to the comments. Andrew McIrvin says, wills do get amended. Well, yes, they do. But again, you got to go to court, at least in this country, at least in the state of New York. You got to go to the court and convince them that that document is somehow impracticable, like they did in 1956, to amend for the Southern Hemisphere provision. Alex Hayworth is on from the UK saying 56 was tonnage and own bottom 85 was hemisphere amendments. Correct. Thank you very much, Alex. 85, not 56. Clark Chapin, back when sails weren't black. The good old days.
Mm-hmm.
Hamish is saying, yep. And what else here? Replying to Clark Chapin, back when there were sailors. This is Peter Taylor. Back then when there were sailors, not computers, and sail changes. Imagine. Groover's reminding us, Steve saying that there were 99 IACC numbers were assigned. Nobody wanted number 13. I think there was a Russian boat intended for 95, but it was going to be built out of ferro cement. Actually, I was running, I think it was the 92 event. So 90, no, I think you're right. Nobody wanted 13, so we skipped 13. But there's also a story, I didn't know we were going to talk about this because you'll think poorly of me. But when it got to boat number 69, nobody wanted 69 for a few weeks because Kenny McAlpine, who was the director of the technical director for the class, he said, I'm running the defense, and whoever, I can't remember who was running the challenge at that point, said, hey, nobody wants 69, shall we skip it? And just as we were about to skip it, the French came along. So we like 69. So we'll take that number. And they did. Steve Gruber reminded me of that. Now, Julia, what is correct or crotonic about this current go-around in the Cup? We'll see what Steve Gruber saying, Viva la France, number 69. Well, these guys that are running it now, the Challenger record, the Royal Yacht Squadron, and the Defender, the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, have come up with a thing called ACP, America's Cup Properties, which is so far outside the deed of gift. It's never going to stand in court. That's my opinion. And they themselves call it the biggest change in the America's Cup since 1887, since that deed of gift was amended to block fleet racing by the Defender. But this thing is so outside the deed of gift, creating this board of governors, of making the Cup something other than this Challenger-driven, monitored, run by the deed of gift and defended by a single defender. Now there's this board. Now they're trying to make money. They're trying to make it into SAIL GP or F1. And I think if and when this gets challenged in the courts of New York, I think they're going to tell these guys to go pound sand. So here is a little video, Julia, that these guys have made about the history of the Cup. And they even say in this video about what they're doing with these changes and how big these changes are. Have a look.
Competing teams have been racing for the America's Cup for 175 years. But unlike other sporting events, the Olympics, football, Formula One, just about anything else you can think of, the winner doesn't just win a trophy. The winner of the America's Cup gets to run the show. They can pretty much set the rules of the game. Anyone that wants to join the challenge for the America's Cup after that has to accept that the deck is stacked against them. That's what makes it perhaps the hardest sporting competition in the world to win. Challengers are always forced to search for tiny gaps in the rules that could give them a chance. But upsets are rare. Over 175 years and 37 America's Cup competitions, there have only been 4 nations who have won: the United States, Australia, Switzerland, and New Zealand. And the list of losers is long. If this next edition, AC38, had been the same as all the others, that would have given Emirates Team New Zealand the usual advantage over the other challengers. But they're going to do this differently now. Each competing team will be getting a vote on any decision about how the cup is won, creating a very different dynamic between the teams.
And all I can say to that is gag me with a spoon. This is just absurd. Of course, the rules were already made up. The venue decided before this ACP was created. And this ACP, to me, looks like a paper tiger anyway, notwithstanding that it's also illegal under the deed of gift, in my humble opinion, Julia.
I agree. But it's not club against club.
And it's no longer club against club. It's team against team. And the teams are running the show when the deed clearly says, in so few words, that the cup becomes the deed property of the club that wins it, not the team that wins it. It's
Yes.
very clear in the deed.
Yes.
There's a whole lot of things that any number of you here in the chat will know are not compatible, are not correct under the deed of gift. So there's one thing that is, in my opinion, croutonic. Now, is there more croutonicism? Well, have a listen. There's a very brief tape of Freddie Carr pointing out, and I think, sadly, will you be the judge?
It's the first America's Cup in history. In 175 years, we will not have human power moving the sails. I wrote in my column this week, I'm going to try not to be nostalgic about it, but it is hard not to think we've lost a beautiful side of the sport.
And I don't know how you all feel. I think he's absolutely correct. That's Freddie Carr, who was a British sailor and still is par excellence, and did several cups. And he's now with this new wave of racing media called the Foil.
That's who said it.
Yeah, I think they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
So I think he's spot on. They're using batteries. For those of you who maybe are new to this, instead of human power, which has always been the basis of the sport, which our yacht racing rules have since day one said, with minor exceptions, you can use batteries for instruments and some bungee cord, shock cord, as we call it, for minor holding of things. Excuse me, Julie, I'm gonna. But you notice how I used my cough button?
Yes. Would you like a cough drop?
No, I'm okay, thank you. But the point is, now they're using batteries. Not only are sails not going up and down, but they're using batteries now to trim any, and it's very minor because the boats are sailing upwind all the time. In fact, I played that video a week or two ago where everybody's saying, well, I can't even tell if the boats are sailing upwind or downwind because they're close hauled, meaning the sails are pulled in tight, and there's just minor variations, and now it's push button or joystick sailing via battery. It's croutonic in my opinion. I'm sorry to say it. Now, here's one that's debatable, this third and final corrector croutonic, and I'll play the video and then ask you what you think.
Is there anything on the AC-75 a female sailor can't do?
No, I mean, that's the great thing about these boats. Right. Buttons and levers and input devices.
I mean, I'll be the first to say that physically, I'll never get the physical strength that some of the men do. We've got a lot of talent too, and we've got great brains, just like men do.
For me, it's always been about experience and opportunity, whether you're male or female.
Now that obviously leads into, or is a result of, the new rule that requires there be a woman, a female, an XX on every boat. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's a good idea or not. maybe to get things going, to help involve more females in the sport, maybe it's a good idea. But I think there are a lot of women who are very capable of just joining the teams anyway without a rule that requires a woman to be on each boat. I know, Julia, you're
absolutely
of that view.
Right.
But I think sane and wise and thoughtful people can have differences of opinion on this. I asked the Fozy, what do you think? There's Blake's talking about upwind sailing and great for ice boats, but in AC it's a new game. What do you all think of this rule now requiring a woman on each of the boats? Is that a good idea for the Cup? Is that in the deed? There's no mention of something like that in the deed of gift, having restrictions on the gender of the sailors.
Steve Gruber wants to know why you'd have any men on the boat.
Well, that's another point.
Which is also true. Why,
I just don't know why you have any restrictions. And
right.
But I think reasonable people can disagree on this topic. There's not many people wading in on the chat, in the comments, Julia.
Ability, I'd rate above gender.
I'm with you. In any event, that wraps up our long This Day in History, and it was on this day, if you're down under, the 22nd of August, 1851, the 100 Guinea. See, even these guys on this website can't get it right. The 100-pound cup yacht races held around the Isle of Wight, the first race of the oldest international sporting competition, now known as the America's Cup. For extra credit, when they went from 100-pound cup to the Americans calling it the 100 Guinea Cup, which is what? A pound and a nickel, pound and 5 cents, whatever it was. Yeah. They were wrong. They thought it was like $1 and $1, that they were the same.
Yeah.
So in any event, 100-pound cup to the 100 Guinea Cup to the Queen's Cup, because they wanted to appear in 1870.
I'd rather have it.
What was the name after the Queen's Cup? For extra credit, anybody in Hamish will know.
I don't know.
Clark Chapman says the reason they have at least one woman on the boat is to reduce the amount of farting and scratching among the balance of the crew. Julia, give him, please.
Enough.
Ted Ryman says women on the AC boats is a good thing. I wonder if Ted will send us any more jokes about women. At Luna Rossa 07, Steve was part of that team. We called it the 100 Guinea Cup because it would take that many Italians to win it. 100 Guinea. There's some clever people here in the Fozy in the chat. Julia, after it was mistakenly called the Queen's Cup, it was then called the America Cup. America Cup, and that was a little awkward. And the journalists, and some journalists came along and said, well, it should be the America's Cup, possessive apostrophe S. Mm-hmm. And that's what it now is, obviously. That's what everybody calls it. Mm-hmm. But a journalist gave it the name, the New York Yacht Club gave it the name America because they got embarrassed by calling it Queen's Cup. Then a journalist said, well, if it's not America, it's America's Cup, apostrophe S. And whether that was intentional or whether that was... Okay, enough of this history. Let's wrap this up. So in the race, as you know, the U.S. schooner, the low black schooner, America, beat the British cutter Aurora. Oh, it was 24 minutes, according to this. But who knows? This site got a couple other things wrong. Prompting spectator Queen Victoria to ask who was in second place, and the famous reply, Your Majesty, there is no second. So that's This Day in History, 22 August 1851, America's Cup 0, Julia, 8 as I call it, AC 0, and AC 1 again was in 1870, almost 20 years later. Okay, Julia, anything else on that topic? Did we wear that one out?
It's hard to say.
Well, to be fair, I mean, this is 175 years that this trophy's been around and competed for by all manner of people from all over the planet.
Right.
And thought we should give it a little bit of love today.
Absolutely.
And a little bit of explanation.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And it is its own play.
its own play. Okay, that gets us to the next segment. Speaking of the Brits, don't you think we should hear from John Emmett in the coaching corner? John Emmett, our Superfozy from Great Britain, is outstanding in his field once again.
Indeed.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Welcome to John Emmett's Coaching Corner. And one of the very regular topics is volunteering. Flag officers are probably the backbone of most clubs. So those are often the 4 key committee members, where you have a Commodore, Vice Commodore, Rear Commodores of Sailing, Rear Commodores of Shore, and they have a very important job. Pretty much the glue that holds the clubs together. Now, it's a lot of work. I think in the UK, probably a Commodore role can easily end up 20 hours a week for a small to medium-sized club. And some of the larger clubs in the UK will hire full-time staff. But I want people to think now, rather than just have opinions, can you help shape the future of the club? Now, I think there's a fine balance. You don't want people to stay in a role forever. Perhaps 3 years is a good term to make a difference and leave a little bit of a legacy. But fresh blood and younger people coming in and having that new ideas and that changeover of enthusiasm is also really important. But if you're a regular sailor at your club, think, can you join the committee and make a difference? With that, sail fast, sail safe, have fun.
Bravo, Zulu. Great sentiment. What?
Absolutely.
As JFK said when he was inaugurated in what, 1960? 61? And he said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And I think that's what John is saying. Think about whether you can help your club as a volunteer. Either the Brits call it the committee, we call it the board, or in some other capacity, like producing the members show at the Stag Group, which remind me never to do again.
Yeah.
I agreed to that again this year in a weak moment, as you know, but it's great fun and it's a contribution to the club.
Yep.
And thank God for all these volunteers. I mean, whether it's Claire Harrington, our Superfozy Commodore New York Yacht Club, or you've got Clark Chapin, who's been Commodore, I think, 3 times of our little club in Michigan.
Yeah, and the huge number of people who volunteer for races, non-racing.
Well, racing, the race committee work, especially at a club like your club here at St. Francis, our club, that has, 275 days, 300 days a year on the water. And other clubs in San Diego, for example, and other warm weather clubs have even more than that. It's amazing. So yeah, we need to have volunteers, and John is spot on. And these are volunteers when you take the job seriously, Julia. You can't have people volunteering and then being off flitting about, in the one coast or another, or one country or another. When you take the job as a flag officer in particular, you need to be at the club and help manage it for the length of your term, I think. But that's an aside.
I agree.
Bravo, Zulu. John, thank you very much for that. That's John Emmett with his regular feature we call Coaching Corner. John Emmett sailing, get to the front of the fleet.
Yeah. By volunteering, you get a lot more out of the club anyway.
Well, you were the first female house committee chair, is that right?
Yes.
Of St. Francis.
Oh, the whole place was going to fall apart.
Did it?
No.
I'm teasing you, Julia. I know that you did a great job, and everybody still talks about it, even though it was in 1950 or whatever.
Yeah, it was about.
What year was it?
I don't know, 71 or something like that.
Well, you were ahead of your time because
that
was they selected you on competence, not because it was politically correct to have women in some senior role.
No, it was the Commodore who said, you said that you'd like to do this sometime, and I said I would. He says, tell me again later, and I said I would. He says I was waiting for you to tell me that.
Steve Gruber is a member of I think he's in Connecticut, isn't he, Steve? What club? Mostly volunteer club. 10% of the members do 90% of the work. for the most part, but it is getting better. Peer pressure is a powerful tool if used properly. Above that, Clark Chapin saying for some clubs, the race committee that organizes the racing is even more critical than the board, which you were just saying, Julia. So, yeah, bravo Zulu to John Emmett, and his brief video today, while he was outstanding in his field in every sense of
Literally,
of the expression, right?
Yep.
We always say at the end of John's segment that we need to keep pushing, and a lot of people are doing, including the Aussies, World Sailing, to get sailing back in the Paralympics for 2032. We've been knocked out by the IPC, International Paralympic Committee, but we want to be back in for Brisbane 2032, and we can do it if we keep encouraging our national governing bodies, our respective national federations, and everybody else to support this initiative. Now, I'm pleased to report, Julia, that one of our super FOSI is doing just that as we look forward here to a FOSI Focus, Friends of Sailing Illustrated, and I have a nice video in this regard from one of our super FOSI.
Oh, yeah.
First running KA5 with its new 75 horsepower Yanmar turbo diesel motor. Running like a Singer sewing machine. And it's important to make sure you back the bid for Brisbane 2032 for sailing to be included in the Paralympics.
So that's, of course, Peter Stevenson, a.k.a. Pedro. And he's bought KA5, the 12-meter KA5. Do you know the name of that boat? It's in the upper left corner of the slide. That was Australia, not Australia 2. That was the famous Australia that raced in the 77 Cup as the challenger, lost 4-0 to Ted Turner and Gary Jobson and Courageous. But he's bought the boat. He's fixing it up. Now you've seen his first trip across, apparently, Sydney Harbor with the new engine in it. It's running like, what do you say, like a
sewing machine? Yeah,
Singer sewing machine.
Yeah.
But look at this nice sentiment on the boom. He's backing the bid, Brisbane 2032 for Paralympic sailing. Bravo Zulu, Pedro. Nice stuff, and thanks again. Now, speaking of Super FOSI, you know who that is? In Newport, Rhode Island, windy Newport, Rhode Island this morning. That is the sailing savant, Luca Devoti.
I was going to say, Luca.
That is Luca. He and his family are vacationing on the east coast of the U.S., and they were greeted at Harbor Court by New York Yacht Club Commodore and Super FOSI Claire Harrington today. So that's the sailing savant.
Yes.
And BOFA.
Great.
The breath of fresh air. In fact, Luca's touring, I said the East Coast. He was on Cape Cod. They're in Newport now, and they're going to New York City.
Yeah.
And by special request, wanted to view the model room. And Claire has arranged that, Commodore Harrington.
Oh, nice.
So he's going to, his kid especially wants to see it. His boy, who's a keen racing sailor. So bravo Zulu to them and all of our FOSI. And it's interesting, Julie, it's nice to see people who know each other by name on the show, but maybe have never met or haven't.
Lots of times,
End up, and people show up in Cape Town, and Ryman takes care of them. They go to England, and Pindar or McIrvin or John Emmett take care of them. So nice stuff. Bravo Zoo. Cedar Point Yacht Club, yes. Didn't I sail Fireballs at Cedar Point Yacht Club, Steve Gruber? Those clubs, there's so many of those great clubs on the North Shore of Long Island Sound. And Cedar Point Yacht Club and Norotan Yacht Club are just two of the great clubs that are basically member run. They might hire a seasonal manager, and maybe they have a full-time manager, I don't know, because it's quite a club, Cedar Point. But, a lot of times summer teachers that have a summer break will go manage a club. We had, at our little, Clark maybe remembers too, we had a gentleman who was seasonally helping my dad run the club back in the 60s. Bloody hell. Luca and Claire and co. It's nice to see. Julia, our featured show today, we're an hour and 9 minutes into the show. Our featured segment, I should say, is, of course, Sassnitz, which is happening tomorrow, the 22nd and the 23rd in Germany. We've been talking about this, so we talked a little bit about it. On Tuesday, this is the Rockwool German SAIL GP. It's the second time that they've been in Sassnitz, which is on this island. This is the old, the northern part of the old DDR, the East Germany, the German Democratic Republic, the DDR. And that's where, and it's a resort island. It's a beautiful place on the Baltic Sea. I've not been. I don't think I asked you the other day if you've been.
I haven't either.
And it's on Rügen Island, which I assert, again, our sport is just works better on islands for whatever reason. You go to Bermuda, even New Zealand's an island. You go to Newport. People don't realize Newport is on an island, on Aquidneck Island.
San Francisco's not an island.
Well, we are too. We're an island, a political island. We're off in our own world with politics here, Julia.
Yes, we are.
Sassnitz is a well-known seaside resort and port town and is a gateway to the nearby Jasmine National Park with its unique chalk cliffs. We told you about this the other day. And those cliffs are beautiful, according to all the photos and all the information I've been able to gather up. Sassnitz aerial view from 2011 of their famous chalk cliffs down there in the lower right. Here's a preview video that actually SAIL GP put out today. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's like 15 minutes long, but I will play it for the first 6 or 7 minutes anyway, or until you tell me in the chat you're bored of it. Or Julia, you tell me you've had enough, but have a look.
The countdown is on as SAIL GP comes to northern Germany. Will we set another speed record like we did last year? Tune in and find out.
Previously on SAIL GP, Portsmouth brought the championship fight closer than ever. That was so close! Australia remain on top of the leaderboard, but Spain are right on their heels after 2 wins in a row.
What a race.
Germany found their speed, taking a race win before coming within moments of a capsize.
Oh, no, you have a team!
Now they return to home waters, Sassnitz, home to the fastest speed SAIL GP has ever seen.
Go over 103!
13 teams, 13 nations, 1 championship. And for the Germany SAIL GP team presented by Deutsche Bank, this one means more. This is the Rockwool Germany SAIL Grand Prix.
Welcome to the countdown as we get you ready for event number 9 of the 2026 season of SAIL GP. This is the Rockwool Germany SAIL Grand Prix Sassnitz. I'm Todd Harris alongside former Emirates GBR athlete Hannah Diamond and Olympian Stevie Morrison. Hannah, start with you. Everyone's looking forward to this event because this event usually spells speed.
It is an absolutely stunning venue and the host of the current speed record, and we've got a fantastic forecast for the weekend, so we could see some top speeds and some amazing racing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. It's shifty race course. It's sort of a sea race course, so decent bit of space for the teams to stretch their legs. Different challenge to what they've had in the last little while. And, wow, the pressure's starting to come on for some of these teams in that race to the grand final.
All right, let's get right to it. Our reporter on the scene is none other than the 4th member of our broadcast team. She's Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin. Lisa, how's it looking down there?
Oh, it's fantastic. Right now the sun's shining. I think some rain might be coming, but that's not going to ruin our party because wind is going to be up this weekend, as you guys were saying, gusting up to 52 kilometers per hour perhaps. So maybe that speed record is in danger. But I heard Nikolai say this morning, you know what, he might just go out and break it again.
Yeah, well, Lisa, it's often shifty there. Are we still expecting it to be quite a fast-moving, dynamic track?
Yeah, it's going to be super tough. I think the really interesting thing to look out for this weekend is the top turning gate. It's tucked right under the grandstand, under the land where the wind's coming from. So we're going to see conversion there, maybe teams foiling off the foils, waiting for a gust to come, doing that bear away. All of a sudden, a bullet of wind comes. So it's going to be really exciting. And I think also with the group format, there's a little bit more room for tactics as well. So I'm excited to see how that plays out this year.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. Much more from you on the broadcast. We look forward to all of your reports down there on the water. So as we said at the top of the show, this is the 9th event of Season 6, and it has been a crazy ride. If you haven't been with us, here's what you missed.
As we move into the business end of the 2026 season, the SAIL GP Championship is heating up.
Oh no, disaster!
Portsmouth saw the official change to the group racing format. meaning we had high speeds, tight finishes, and plenty of drama on the solo.
North Star looked too tight. Oh, the German team!
Los Gallos made it 2 event wins in a row as they won the Emirates Great Britain Sail Grand Prix, putting themselves firmly in the championship top 3 as the race to the grand final heats up. It's 6 event finals across 8 events for Diego Bettine's team, who are really coming into form at the perfect time.
Nothing is for granted here in this league, so we need to keep working the same way if we want to give ourselves a chance again.
And despite a disappointing weekend in Great Britain, the Bonds Flying Roos are sitting pretty at the top of the table, with a huge 20-point gap between themselves and 4th place.
Now we get to look at all their data like they have when we won events, and yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that a bit.
Nathan Outteridge and the Artemis team have moved into 3rd place in the championship after another final in Portsmouth, proving they are far from a rookie outfit. But the race for the grand final is wide open.
Still plenty of events to go, and it's nice to be sitting in the top 3, but you know, there's still 2 boats ahead of us that we're trying to chase down.
Explorers have now made 2 finals.
I think that after here it starts to go downhill a bit, but you see what's interesting, I think, is that Nathan Outteridge has brought that team along, is in 3rd place, as probably most of you know. And it's going to be pretty, I think it's going to be a pretty spicy weekend. Remember on Tuesday we talked briefly about this. Listen to this about Dylan.
The door is open for a new team to make their mark in the grand final this season.
Okay, I guess when they go back to the commentators in the booth,
So how will it all play out this
we'll
weekend?
look at this. There, you know these results. You know the standings. They just went through them.
12-point lead over Los Gallos, the champions of season 4. Then you have Artemis as
I mean, there's a big contest for 3rd place, I think, between Artemis, the U.S. team, and Emirates GBR. And you got to give Emirates GBR credit because they missed those early races.
Oh, well, I mean, the Australians look well set, don't they? I think that's the thing. And yeah, the Fletcher, Emirates GBR, 2 events, the last 2, home event in Canada, another event Emirates GBR have won, 0 points. And I'm not saying there's cracks, right, but there's fracture marks in the team. Now, we've seen the team put it back together, so you know it's not panic stations for Emirates GBR, but equally, another bad one here, and potentially your season's run away from you.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I was interested to see such overt criticism, but I think that's fair because we know that team is struggling. We understand they have some financial problems. People maybe not as motivated as they might be otherwise. But the other point that Clark Chapin is making: this is the 9th event of a series of unknown length because they have 2 events scheduled at the end of the year in the Middle East. And whether those events happen or not,
they decide?
No, that was the World Match Racing Tour. We ran that, and they are going to Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Amala Yacht Club, James Pleasance told us on the show the other day.
Right.
And that is, that's on the Red Sea. That's not on the other. So on the other side. So I think Russell's got a tough decision to make. One hears they may go to Pensacola and finish their season out in Pensacola. I've also heard they may go back to Perth. But again, follow the money. It's who's going to offer the most money, Julia.
Yeah, and who's going to go to Perth?
Well, it's not pay to go to Perth. It's whether Perth offers up a chunk of money again if their tourism authority, whoever else backs it, or a big sponsor comes along and says, we'd like to go back there. Because at the start of next season, they're in Hong Kong first, I believe, and then Perth.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, so, and they had a great event there in Perth this year. So we'll see what happens. They're turning out good videos. They do tend to be, as what you said, Ed Vitrano said, once again, a promo video that thinks we only have an attention span of a nanosecond. Mm-hmm. And the hype for the collisions and, well, that's part and parcel with what Russell and Larry and the rest of the gang are doing here. Speaking of which, earlier this week, speaking of Rockwool, which is the sponsor not only of this regatta, but of the Danish team, they had a near miss. And while they didn't capsize, they did fill up the port cockpits and wrecked their electronics. And I have a video from all the different angles of this thing. It's pretty cool.
Nice and cool. Up and down. Turning up in 3, 2, 1, and turning up. Turning. Hang on. Turning up. Turning up. Turning. Right, invert, TJ? Yeah, try and, mate. I mean, you want me to do it? Just let me do it. We've got to save it. Good, mate. Let me do it. Nice. Good catch, TJ.
Sorry,
Nice.
sorry guys. Sorry.
Bit of water down here.
So you heard the, of course, the audio cuts out because there's some, as Stevie says, it's some industrial language. There's some coarse language there on these boats, no doubt. I mean, this is a pretty frightening thing if you're down there in the leeward pods, in the leeward cockpits.
I mean, you want me to do it? We've got to save it. We've got to save it. Good, mate. Let me do it. Nice. Good.
Blake is asking, how in the world did they not capsize? Well, they were obviously right on the edge.
But they have some control, though.
Well, they do, but, you know, they ease the sails, but still, it was pretty close. Here's one last look at it. I think I've seen enough, if you all have. It's going to be windy, too. That's the other interesting thing. Not only did they set the speed record, as if I care, last year at Sassnitz for these F-50s, but apparently they are going to have a fair bit of wind again this year, and the chance may of exceeding that record again, which I don't even know what it is, and I frankly don't care. So, okay, you've seen that. They nearly capsized. They went over, filled up the port hull with water. They had all sorts of electronics problems, but apparently they're going to be back racing on Saturday, tomorrow, for this event.
5 a.m. here.
5 a.m. here, 1400 CET, local time. So they, as you heard them mention, they're continuing this group racing format, which I think is wise. Magnus the Magnificent, Richard Gladwell, myself, others have been saying this is a good move. We were calling for it earlier. And they have an algorithm. They have a plan that, so this is not random. This is not Russell deciding who's going to be in which group. This Group A and Group B depends on the results of the previous event. And they put so that hopefully the two groups, based on the results of the previous event, the two groups are fairly even. Group A this time, tomorrow and Sunday, will see the Swiss, the Kiwis, the French, the Danes, the Italians, and the Brazilians all in one group. Now that sounds a little weak vis-a-vis the other one, but the black foils are coming on. The Swiss have had some better regattas, but that's just the way the algorithm worked out. Whereas Group B has Artemis, the third place team, North Star, which is not so hot these days. That's the Canadian team. The U.S. team, which has been in the hunt. The Australian team, which is for sure in the hunt, leading. And Germany's home event. So, and then of course the Brits. So you got, you got the Brits. So you've got, Julia, a pretty good Group B, pretty strong Group B.
Yeah.
And the way it works, of course, is that after they sail the fleet races tomorrow and early Sunday morning, well, the early races on Sunday, which will be also Sunday afternoon, the top two out of each group go into a 4-boat final, winner take all, one race, it's over. So it's, I like the format for this kind of racing. I don't know if all these crashes and collisions are attracting more viewers, younger viewers? I don't know. And Fritz Mueller is asking, yes, just tuning in, didn't Rockwool, Denmark, set the speed record at Sassnitz? Yes, they did. So that's what's happening. And then, as I told you on Tuesday, one of my weather forecasts said it was going to be blowing dogs off chains, oysters off rocks. And then I kind of lost my confidence in that forecast. But now Lance Burke, our weather guru here in San Francisco, has come back.
Yeah.
And he said it is going to be a bit breezy. It's going to be a bit spicy. And as you see there on the left, I didn't zoom this slide, but if you go looking there on the left at 1600 on Saturday, here is the race time, 16 to, it's looking pretty breezy. As you can see it's, that's miles per hour, but it is 16, gusting 24, 25 in the race period on Saturday. In fact, it's earlier than that. It's at 14. I drew the square in the wrong place, but you can see nonetheless, it's about the same. It's breezy. That's still it's Saturday. There's the 1300. So it's that same period. It's breezy. It's going to be cloudy and maybe rainy, as you heard Lisa say in that. But then on Sunday, it gets even spicier because, and that same period from I don't know why I can't find Sunday on here.
Yeah, top right.
Oh no, I see that, but I don't see 2 o'clock. This is the split. Anyway, it's going to be.
Right there.
Yeah, Julie, it's not 1400 though. There. Okay, now I'm confused here. The time's right up on top, 2 p.m. That is Saturday. Yes. Okay?
Yeah.
That is Saturday. So there's 2 p.m. up at the top. It's 21 miles per hour, almost now. It's gusting 34. Breeze on. And then on Sunday at 14, there it is. I should have done this in advance. I apologize. On Sunday at 2 p.m., it's 18 gusting 33, and so on. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, 2 p.m. Got that. I just couldn't find the 2 p.m. on the slide. I'll zoom that slide in future. And these times are CET, yes. Lance Burke, who provided this slide, thank you, Lance. These times are the local time, Central European time, during which this racing will take place. So yeah, they're live on YouTube, Saturday and Sunday, 1400 CET, 0500 Pacific time, 0800 on the East Coast, and so on. Lance Burke, thank you very much. St. Francis Yacht Club member here in the U.S. of A. And that's our preview coming up of this pretty important regatta for what's going to happen at the end. And then we'll see where it goes, Julia, if they go to the Middle East for those final 2 events. They've got one in Geneva after this. And we'll see. One in Spain, too, right? 100 degrees F in Austin, light. So it's hot in Austin, Texas. No surprise, it's August. Clark says, I don't think they got a small enough wing for those boats, something the size of a popsicle stick.
Well, it's got a basic point there, though.
Yeah. Sail GP goes to, do you like our new cover slide? A little different than what our graphics department usually prepares for us, which gets us, Julia, to the last leg. Scott Joplin's music played by Commodore Clary Harrington, and we're going to cover the Cup. We're going back to the Cup. We started with it. We're going to end with it today's show. You know how I like to bookend the shows, a little AC38 Cup date, because a lot of you are asking about the knife fight or the night fight that's going on between Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Ben Ainslie. There's been 2 court filings, and one was a few days ago with the 19th amended defense, and that was the Ben Ainslie crowd filing an amended defense on behalf of the defendant. And then the 20th, which is just yesterday, the judge has made an order, and that order we've now seen part of it. But we understand that the judge has allowed them to amend their defense, but he's now given the defense. He's now allowed Jim Ratcliffe, who sued them, a time, time to reply to that thing. So you to that amended defense. So now you've got these two knights in their night fight continuing. And as we said, when the America's Cup gets in court, you just never have any idea how long it's going to take, where it might go. But the time now has been extended to the 15th of September for Ineos to reply, a further 4 weeks for Ineos to reply to this amended defense by Sir Ben Ainsley's side. All costs in this judicial order, the judge said, all costs to be paid by Ben. I'm not sure what that means. I asked some of the Superfosi this morning if in the British system what that means exactly, but no final position documents until nearly 2 years after the boat transfer should have taken place. This, according to one of our top British sources. So the night fight continues, and nobody wants to see this, least of all me. But I don't see how Ben's going to be competitive as the challenger record of the Royal Yacht Squadron when here it is essentially September. They don't have a boat. Meanwhile, Team New Zealand's been sailing, the French have been sailing, even Alinghi's been sailing. So to say nothing of Luna Rossa. So it's a sad situation, but not a good situation. Now the team, Sir Ben's team, not to be standing idly by on the sideline, has issued their own video on the 175th birthday of the America's Cup.
Located in Cowes is the Royal Yacht Squadron. Founded in 1815, it's one of the most prestigious yacht clubs in the world and hosted the first America's Cup in 1851, won by the US schooner America. Today, the organisation serves as the challenger of record for the 38th America's Cup. Cowes Week is such a vital part of the British sailing calendar, GB1 are on site.
So this is the 200th anniversary of Cowes Week, so quite a big deal in our world of sailing and yacht racing. And the America's Cup obviously has really strong ties to the Isle of Wight, to the Royal Yacht Squadron, the first ever race being held here 175 years ago. So it's an incredible event. It's the oldest international sporting trophy. It's a big part of our maritime heritage in the UK, and it's actually the one thing that we've never won in international sport. That's a big motivation for the whole team to win the America's Cup, bring it back to British waters.
So Ben keeps pushing, he keeps selling, and you may have seen on their Sail GP boat, they've got a new company called EQT as a sponsor, which I'm told is a venture capital, is an investment bank that is helping to sell the team. And they've got their name on the side of the boat as part of a value in kind, a VIK, because rather than getting a big commission, they're going to get some advertising out of this in the meantime on the side of the Emirates Sail GP, the British team. That's why you saw EQT on the side. So that's just to wrap it up. This whole British situation is sadly a mucked up fest, and I hope Ben, and I would love to see them settle and get back on the water with that boat. But Ted Ryman is saying this night fight will end up being a knife fight. Jim and Ben down a back alley behind the pub. And the other thing, Julia, is that if this were being settled, you wouldn't see all this back and forth with amended defenses and the judge. And
it's almost too late to settle it.
Well, it's never too late to settle. You can always settle, but
that would erase the cup.
Well, it would erase this defender.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe they'd settle and get the boat.
The timing of the race. Who's going to be able to race?
Well, who's going to be able to beat the Kiwis? Who's going to be able to beat the Kiwis?
Yeah.
Sail GP goes to Germany. That's been the theme of our show. We get here to the D block with your favorite person, Julia. Now,
in your favorite pillow.
Well, and my favorite, I want to point out.
You have it?
I have it.
Yay.
The pillow arrived. the famous pillow that was bought by Magnus the Magnificent at a boutique in Newport, Rhode Island. He saw this and said, I got to get this for Tom and Julia. And then Claire said, Commodore Harrington said, well, I'll get it. I'll mail it. I'll get it FedExed out to them. She put it in a box, she thinks, that had shotgun shells in it. And when it got to the Port of Oakland, which is just across the bay from us here.
A picture in the outside.
Well, I don't think there was a picture. I think it was the sniffer.
Yeah.
You know, these ports now have very sophisticated to see if there's, radiation.
The point is there weren't any shotgun shells in it.
Correct. But, they have sniffers to see if it smells, if it's got nuclear radiation, if it's got, gunpowder or something else. So our pillow has arrived, finally, and I don't know yet if this is a new pillow or if it's the original one. But regardless, we have it, we love it, and we will cherish it here at the Beach Street Yacht Club Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Indeed.
Bravo the pillow. Do you smell it? No, Peter Taylor, I don't. Okay, so here we go, Julia, for Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. The cleanest one Ted Ryman has ever sent, the coarse language notwithstanding. First one, home wins, the turtle says to the hare, to the rabbit, and the rabbit then realizes he's already home just by retracting his foils. That's from Ryman. It's clean. I had to use it. This came from a Brit, and I couldn't resist, Julia, commenting about this. We're so happy to be rid of this couple of Harry and Meghan, and that they learned that they're going back to the UK, and that decision has delighted the royal family. So says no one less than Andrew, Mr. Dr. McIrvin, who sent that to me.
I have a hunch that it's the king.
I have a hunch that it's Markle, and that poor old Harry is just caught in the middle. But they're going back to the UK with their tail between their legs because they haven't been able to make it here. Let's face what's happening, and I don't want to get into that. But we thank you, Andrew McIrvin, for sending that. Blake Middleton. We wrap up with his All the Smartest People Sail. That, of course, is Albert Einstein, who was a sailor of some repute. Not a very good one, but of some repute.
And quite frequently.
Well, he did when he was in Princeton, in his Princeton years at Princeton University. And my beloved father, Tom Sr., who loves to say, sailing isn't for everybody, but it is for anybody. And Clark Chapin and Julie and I have adopted that as another mantra for this show, our Sailing Illustrated show. It gets us to the finish line, Julia, where you like to say,
yes, do not miss the opportunity to like, follow, and share. And if just share it to your own list.
Yeah, and share the show.
Yeah.
Share the show even before we go to air. As soon as you see the promos pop up, you can share it to your own Facebook page or your own YouTube page. Comments are welcome, even in replay. We're one of the few live shows that allow that because everyone is such a lady or a gentleman of our viewers. We rarely get anybody. Thanks, Clark Chapin, who's already shared it. But we rarely get anybody, Julia, who's Crutonic. And we appreciate our big audience and increasingly large. Thank you to all of you who've given us some money. This is viewer-supported media, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Thank you for your support. And without your support, we would not. I always switch to this shot. We would not have all this equipment. And it's all fairly modern, up-to-date equipment these days, thanks to some of our super Fozy.
Yeah.
And that's how we pay our streaming fees, too. So we do appreciate it. With virtually no advertising. We have once in a blue moon over the last 10 years had an advertiser. When one of our Fozy comes in and said, I'd really like to send you a check and say something nice about, I think I've done that 3 times, maybe. But if anybody is interested in us saying nice things about your product or your service, let us know. We'll at least consider it, especially if you're a good guy or gal. That's about it for us. We also want to thank, as usual, the people who've given us audio, images, and video for today's show. Julia, final thought?
what I was really thinking about is when somebody shares it, they should CC me on it so I can tell that you've done it.
Well, that's a good idea too. You should just, instead of scrolling through all your reels with all these Elon Musk things and all this, how to make more money in the market or with Bitcoin or all these, you should just go on everybody's Facebook page and watch it. That'd keep you occupied, Julia. Julia, thank you very much. We appreciate you as always and all of our FOSI. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you have a great weekend. Follow the Sail GP Regatta as we will be doing early in the morning. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.